The next thing that I want to do is set up a particle material. So I'm going to come back to my content browser, go back to content, and I'll do this in the materials. I'm going to right click and set up a new material. There it is, it's listed under N. I'm going to be sure that this is for particles. So I'm going to call it particle, and this one's going to be really basic. So I'm going to call it particle basic. I will double click right on into it. Here it is in my new tab. And for this, I'm going to do just a couple of things. First, I'm going to set it up to be translucent. Yeah, I'll just leave it as translucent. And the shading mode, it doesn't really need to be lit. I don't want light to interact with this, so I'll switch it to unlit. And that leaves me with very few options, which is nice. We're going to make this a really basic material because there's so much that you can do inside the particle engine that I don't really need to do much here. I'm going to make a few nodes to go along with my particle basic material. The first one that I'm going to make is a particle color node, which you'll note lives under constants. Interesting, right? Essentially, the particle color node is a number, and I'm not gonna mess with it at all. The only thing I want to be aware of is that this top button here gives me RGB data. This bottom button here will give me A data, or alpha data. Alpha data is transparency, transparency is opacity. The particle color is just going to give me some information for the particle to read. That's all. I'm going to leave it alone. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create something that can help me define the particle shape. For this, I'm going to use a node called a gradient. And the gradient that I'm going to use is the radial gradient exponential. Now, this gradient, when I create it, it doesn't look like much. It looks like a bunch of math, and that's fine. I want this to be really simple. We'll go back later and create a second particle material that uses a more specific shading map, but for now this is going to work fine. What I'm going to do with these two pieces of math is I'm going to multiply them together. And I'm going to multiply them together twice. So I will press Ctrl W to duplicate my multiply. In both cases, I'm going to be using the radial gradient exponential out, alpha data, its transparency information, plug it in there. This one goes over to opacity. This one here is going to come into emissive color. And that's not going to look like much here. It's pretty boring there, but I'll go ahead and save this. And once it's saved, I can come back over into my dust cloud. We'll give that a minute. My computer's doing extra work because it's doing this screen capture, but it's still better than using Zoom. I may pause the screen cap while this saves. This really shouldn't take you very long at all, maybe a second or two, but since mine's taking a bit, I'll just pause. Alright, I'm back. As soon as I canceled the screen cap, this saved just lickety-split. And now I can come back over to my dust cloud, and in its required setting, I can change this material from default particle over to my nice new particle material. Particle basic. We'll give that a moment to process as well. And now you can see that I've got all of these cute little dust mites here. Sim up at the top because my sim looks like it froze a little bit. Now you can see there they all are, these nice little soft white looking things. They're moving really fast and they don't look like dust yet, so I've still got some work to do on the particle behaviors, but I'm feeling pretty good about the material. So I will start adjusting this so that it looks like a dust cloud in the next video.